In this video we are going to play with leaf quantity and steeping time to find out how they affect the taste of the tea, but also to break our habits. Hi guys, this is Gabriele from nannuoshan, where we share the pleasure of drinking and discovering genuine farm tea. And we really enjoy sharing our passion for tea, and along with that goes a lot of tea knowledge. And if you're also looking to expand your tea knowledge and brewing skills like us, then go ahead and subscribe our channel, and more videos like this will come your way very soon. And if at any point of time while watching the video you are enjoying it, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. So let's get started. Today we want to speak about that complex matter that is tea brewing. But before doing that, before going into the details, let's first of all speak about why we are doing a tea experiment, an experiment. Because you know, an experiment is something really analytical, objective, if you want, impersonal. When we do gongfu cha for us, it is for me is a ritual. It's something where I want to follow my feeling, my mood, and I also want to have a look for aesthetics, where I set up my tea table, my chashe. While when I do a tea experiment, I don't really care about aesthetic. I want to be practical. So why are we actually doing an experiment for gongfu cha? Well, you know, with the tea experiment, we are able to improve our skills and our knowledge in a way that then become natural, and they can be applied unconsciously when we do our gongfu cha ritual. So this is why at least I like to do tea experiment, to really understand how tea works and then just, you know, naturally brew good tea. And today's topic, we say we are going to really look a little bit into detail about leaf quantity and steeping time, how the two relate to each other, and in particular how they affect the quality, the taste of our tea. Now, brewing tea can be, you know, can be simplified a lot. It's a very complex matter, but at a very basic, you can say that if you have a certain amount of tea and you are steeping it for a certain amount of time, of course you get a certain type of taste. And now what happens during that brewing process? During that brewing process, you extract substances from the leaf into the water. So the hot water extracts substances, and if you have, let's say, double the amount of leaf in your pot or in your gaiwan, you will extract also double the amount of substances. So what do? You steep simply for the half of the time, so that you have the same amount of substances extracted. So what does it mean? If you have a certain amount of leaf and the temperature of the water is the same, if you double the amount of leaves, then you want to halve the steeping time. If you take an amount of leaf that is 3 times, then you want to cut the steeping time to 1/3. Of course, this is a simplification. It works, but it's a simplification, and we want to find out to which extent it is a simplification. Because, in other words, for those of you that are a little bit more familiar with mathematics, we can say that the two aspects, leaf quantity and steeping time, are inversely proportional one to each other. When you increase one, you have to decrease the other by the same amount. And however, tea brewing, and by doing that I will warm up the water, tea brewing is a non-linear phenomenon. The rate at which the substances are extracted from the water is not constant. You have also some saturation effects, so it's quite a complex topic. So in today's experiment we are going to find out how to regulate time when we change the amount of leaves, which is something that I really advise to do. You break your habits, don't keep on brewing the tea always in the same way. Try to change, and when you change you want to know in which direction to go, and this is what we are looking for today. I would like you to do this experiment along with me. So now I will tell you everything you need to prepare this experiment, so that you can go ahead, grab your tea and go along with me. So what I have here, I have first of all 3 quantities of leaves. I have here 3 grams, and I'm steeping this tea here that is Sichuan, which is evergreen 4-season spring. It is an oolong from Taiwan, and I have 3 grams in here, 6 gram, double the quantity, and we have also 6 gram here, so 3, 6 and 6. Then what you need 3 gaiwans, more or less of the same size. It's not so important, but more or less of the same size. 3 pitchers, and you see I have 6 cups. Well, you can also go along with 3 cups, but they have to be identical. This is very important. And if you don't have 3 identical cups, you can just go along with only 1 cup. Better 1 than 3 different. And by the way, this portion of the experiment is an adds-on. So if you want to simplify your life, you can just go ahead with 3 grams and 6 grams. Then I have a scale, a T-scale. This is very important, we will see it later. I have a watch to record my steeping time. Then I have a strainer, and I think that's pretty much everything I have here on the table. So now I would say let's get started with the experiment and see how I'll do. So I have written here on this table some steeping time, because I want to make sure really that I steep this tea double the time then I steep that one. And what we do with these we will see later on. So let's get started. I will get rid of these. I mean, one point maybe, I know that some of you would say, well, you are going here 6, 6, 3, it's 15 grams of leaves that I'm wasting just for an experiment. Some of you might not be very keen to do so, and I can understand that. An option to reduce that waste, if you want, is actually to use a small gaiwan, like this one here. You see, this is a very tiny gaiwan, about 60 milliliters. It is our baby gaiwan. So you still find on our website if you're interested. It's very affordable, and I mean, you can definitely find this kind of small tiny gaiwan also in other shops, because they are commonly used in the Chaozhou gongfu cha to steep danzong. But I don't care that much. I have a lot of tea. So what I do before putting the leaves inside, this is something you really want to do, I warm up the gaiwans. This is particularly important if you're working with gaiwans that are a little bit of different size, because so that they start already at a certain temperature. Different size, different material, this different weight, thickness of the wall would affect then a little bit too much the brewing. So we're just going, to warm them up a little bit. There we go. And I think I can reuse this water actually. And I just warm up my gaiwans here. I keep the lid closed so that the heat remain inside. And I tell you one thing, I did this experiment, now I am filming this experiment for the 3rd time. It has been quite challenging, more than I thought, and for a different reason, because you are steeping 3 teas at the same time, because the results that come out are fairly interesting. You will see that soon. So now I'm warming up a little bit the water, and what I will do every time I put water in the gaiwan, I place my gaiwan on my scale, because I want to put exactly 100 milliliters of water in each gaiwan. That's very important, because you want to keep all other parameters, water type, water temperature, amount of water, at the same, identical between the 3 steepings. So now I put my leaves inside, that's the next step. 6 grams here, and I'll put already also these 6 grams. Here we go. And then I get started. The first thing I do a quick rinse. This is a rolled oolong, so I really want the leaves to start a little bit opening, otherwise that would also affect the different steeping. If I do a very short steeping here, then the leaves didn't unfold, then maybe I have, because of that reason, a little bit less taste. So there are a lot of tiny details that you have actually to think about when you do a tea experiment. You cannot just simply go along and do something a little bit random like you would do when you do just tea for yourself. because otherwise you risk to affect your results and to not really understand what is going on. Alright, no need to warm up our pitcher, but you want to take care not to drop any leaf. So I just use a waste container here. I say we don't warm up the pitcher, we don't warm up the cups, because this way when we get out the tea in the pitcher and in the cup, it will be already at the temperature that we can actually drink. And here we go. And it's a little bit tricky. I will put this table here on the screen so that you can have a look at it, and you can use it also for your experiment if you plan also to do that now or to do that later on after you have watched this video. And by the way, as you are still watching, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Let's get started. I will steep this tea for 50 seconds and this one for 25, just a half. So I will start with this, with that, and then I will go back to pour out. I have my timer here, and I have to get a little bit organized. I think these I don't need anymore, so let's get rid of those so I can get a little bit more working space here. I put my gaiwan on top of the scale, turn it on, and now it's the time to go for so I have to, looking at the table, I have to brew this time at time 0 and have to put the water in the next gaiwan after 15 seconds. Alright, precisely 100. Wow, 100.0. And as we said, we do the other one later. So now we want to do this one for 25 seconds. So I will steep it out at 40 seconds, which are almost there. Here we go. And this we say we do 50, so it is already time to pour it out. It's very tricky to really meet the time. Alright, so now that we have done that, let's have a look at the liquor. I can stop this. So here we have one. And here we have the other. So what we see, I would say, I don't know what you would say according to what you see there in your, through the camera. I would say this is a bit lighter in color, this is a little bit darker. So let's see how that play. I said it's the third time I did this experiment, but I'm always been doing it with different tea. So every time is the results a little bit new, but let's see. Now I'm going to taste, and I would expect that the taste is actually the same because we have doubled the amount of leaf and we have reduced the steeping time by half. And now, without thinking about this rule, try to imagine, here we have 3 grams, 50 seconds, 100 milliliter. Here we have 6 grams, 25 seconds, 100 milliliter. What by feeling, by your experience, you would say is a light taste, a strong taste, or the right taste? What would your feeling say? Which one is the strongest? Which one is lighter? Are they really the same? Let's find it out. I like that. It's on the light side, but not too much. I would say that's pretty much how I would steep it. And I will try now with this one here. And it is definitely stronger in taste. I prefer this one. It is a little bit more balanced. It has very clear flowery notes, and is not astringent on the palate, and is also not bitter. While this one is a little bit more. It starts getting even some fruity note, a little bit more intense, which is actually positive. But I'm missing that lightness that usually you have in the first steeping of gongfu. And so you know what, you see here we have a little bit of a difference, and what I would suggest, now we steep this tea a little bit lighter than we steep this one, just to find out if we really can achieve the same taste that we had here. So we said we did this one for 25 seconds, let's do this one just for 15 seconds and let's see how it goes. I want to warm up the water again, and then I will restart. But I want really to try again. It's very tricky also because I said I've done it 3 times and always with 3 different teas. I had the Donding the time before, the difference was even larger, and the time before I had a black tea. I honestly don't remember exactly how it went with that, because I couldn't complete the movie because I realized it was too complex the way I was doing. I was really steeping 3 teas at the same time. That's really challenging. I will do now the other way around. I will start with this. I always suggest, to go forth and back. Don't go always in the same direction when you taste. Cooling down, I like it better. Yeah, this is definitely lighter. That's now that it's cooling down, is even more obvious actually. We say we want to put here the gaiwan on top, and we go for our just 15 seconds. Quite tricky actually. Or maybe 20. I think I do just a tiny bit less. So instead of 25, I'm doing 20, just a tiny bit. It's a tiny bit, but still 5 seconds out of 25, it's a little bit, it's not really that little. And let's see at the color. Well, now we cannot compare because in the other picture there is a lower amount. I would say it's still fairly dark here. And now I'm curious to taste. And now the leaves have also opened up. So in the next round, I think would be really interesting to see how that reacts. Too hot. I have to wait a little bit. So I will leave that there. I will empty the rest of the pitcher. I will keep the first one here. And then I will do very quickly just steeping one more, because now that the leaves are open, they could react a bit differently because they're ready to give out all their taste. They don't have to unfurl. So, and I will do, what do we do here? Do we do the same time? I will go for the same 50, 25, just to keep things simple. So, what do I have to do here? It's a bit complex. I have to restart this. Here we go. So, ready? We said we go now for 100 milliliters of water again, and you see how the leaves have already opened up. I have to start the timer.
Here we go, 100. And now we said I have to take this out at 40 seconds. It's very useful to have a table, otherwise when you do things, many different things at the same time, it starts being a little bit difficult. Here we go. It's kind of funny actually to do tea experiments. Of course, in front of the camera is always a bit tricky because you have to think about so many things. All right, and now let's have a look at the color, and wow, I see it already. Look at this. These, I mean, I don't know through the eyes of the camera, but this side here, the 6 gram, is much darker, definitely darker. And I will pour these in the second. Here. Take this here and here, and while we let this cool down a little bit, why don't we do this for just 20 or 15 seconds, just very little. So I always suggest to wait a little bit that the tea cools down, especially when you do experiment, because it's easier to judge really. When it is too hot, it's a little bit hard, and that's why I'm actually allowing it to cooling in the pitcher and in the cups. So here we go. So we said we do just 15 or 20 at most. So it is pretty much 15 seconds. All right. So I would say we are done with steeping, and now we have to come up with our findings, and then also to give an explanation for that. That's the tricky aspects, because the explanation I gave you at the beginning was making a lot of sense to me. I have doubled the leaves, I cut half the time, and everything is the same. But it doesn't seem to be very much like that. Look at this. It's still a little bit stronger in color actually, and of course here we have also less tea, so that makes also a difference, but it's still a little bit stronger, and we have steeped this tea for just 15 seconds. So it's much less than what we have done in this one here. It's like 30% of the time instead of half of the time, so yeah, more or less 1/3 of the time instead of half, and still we have a great difference here, yeah? Where to start? Let's do a round with the one we had at first. Yeah, still light. It is light, but it doesn't have that florality. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, this is still a little bit stronger. So definitely these two are closer to each other. They are not exactly the same, but to these I react a little bit differently. And now let's try with those here. I will go this way. I will try this one here. It has more body. Very similar, very similar. Yeah, here it starts developing a little bit of tannins in the tea, so yeah, we pretty caught the right time between these two. 50 seconds, 15 seconds, and it's pretty much the same taste in the second cup, and this is a little bit stronger. So what happens here? And now, you know, I have to give some thoughts about that, because it's not that easy. And it's not that you really have to give a justification to everything. Once you realize that when you double the amount of leaf, you have to reduce by more than a half the time, you're already good to go. And you develop a feeling. And now you have an additional point that you have to learn about that, is that when you have extremely short steeping time, it's very easy to do mistakes. Like, let's pretend here we have just 15 seconds of steeping time. If instead of 15 seconds you do 20, then you have done 1/3 more, so it can change substantially the taste. Here we have a 50-second steeping. If I do plus or minus 5 seconds, it doesn't change much. So, especially at the beginning of your gongfu cha, it's better to use a little bit less leaves and longer steeping time. That helps you brewing the tea properly. When you develop more skills and you can do also things faster and you have everything under control, then you can improve the quantity of the leaves. And while do so, you will experience also other pleasant side effects. For example, the fact that since the sugar and the lighter taste dissolve into the water first, and only the stronger taste, like anise for example, dissolve later. When you do very short steeping time, and you guys that drink a lot of pu'er knows that, you have the first cup that is very light and flowery, and then you get that body, robustness and bitterness later on. And you have a very clear separation when you use a lot of leaves. When you use little leaves and you do a longer steeping time, you will have both of those components in the same cup. So it will be less of a difference between the different steepings. So very complex. But now let's ask ourselves, as a last aspect of this tea experiment, why we have to cut down the time so much when we double the quantity. And the reason, I believe, is the following. I don't have, any mathematical proof, and so just a little bit actually, but don't take it for granted. It's just, let's see if it makes sense also for you. So, the rate at which substances are extracted from the leaf is not constant. And you know that very well. You know that at the beginning of the steeping, you get a lot of taste into your water very quickly, and then when you do longer steeping, it's flattened down. It's flattened down means that's why you do longer steeping later on. The next brewings are always longer because it takes more time to extract enough taste. Now, if you do a very short steeping, like here 15 seconds with 6 grams of leaves, and you just cut down to the half that time because you have reduced by half the quantity of the leaves, you will have also half of the substances extracted. But more or less actually. But what happened is that the second half of this steeping is much slower. It's much slower, and that's why it's basically you need a longer second half if you want to extract the same quantity of leaf. I can just put this in other words if that maybe makes a little bit more sense to you. Let's think at this steep curve that then flat down. And this is how the substances dissolve into your water over time. Very fast at the beginning and then slow at the end. So let's take a steeping done exactly the same time. So you have 6 grams, 3 grams, and I steep it for 15 seconds. Then you definitely have half of the taste in this one here, because everyone is the same, it's just that one curve is the half of the other. But then when you prolong this one for half of that time, then you have the second half that is actually much slower rate of dissolving the substances into your water, so you have to extend it a little bit longer. I hope that makes sense to you. If it's a little bit difficult to understand all this reasoning, I know it's a bit cumbersome, doesn't matter. Just make sure that when you increase the amount of leaves, you decrease the steeping time by even more. Okay, so double the amount of leaf is not half of the steeping time, is much less than that, maybe 1/3 in this case, but it really depends on the tea, so you have to experiment a little bit.
I hope you have enjoyed this tea experiment. If you actually like this kind of tea experiment, let me know in the comments below and I will do more of that. I have a few ideas in mind. If you have some, just go ahead, post it. Gabriele, do this experiment for me. I want to find it out. I don't want to waste my tea, waste yours. I'll do that, no problem. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and go ahead, subscribe our channel as we said at the beginning to get more tea knowledge and learning more about brewing skills. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.